Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself today. It's an exciting one. Today, I know we are going to be discussing this important topic. I am getting a feedback. Alrighty. I am getting the feedback and I don't know where the feedback is coming from, but we will go ahead anyway whilst we try to figure out and fix this. Prof.
Good afternoon, bro.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I'm getting the feedback here and I'm trying to figure out where the feedback is coming from. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna drop in a minute and try to reload.
That's cool.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. So, sorry about that technical hitch. I was getting a serious feedback here. And it felt like I am speaking 3-4 times by myself. So once again, sorry for that feedback. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself. My name is Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. of Africa International Organization and Certo Leadership International. And my co-host is ready to roll. So, Prof, introduce yourself and let's get the ball rolling.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kojo Frimpong of AfriWeek International Organization and Certo Leadership International. We are here to judge about the problems that confronts Africa at large, and we'll be talking about our traditional concept of gift givings, and then the issue of corruption in Africa. And that's what we are here for today.
Yes. So as Prof has already stated, we are going to continue the discussions we started about corruption in Africa. And we're still looking at the issue of whether our culture of giving is an incentive for corruption in Africa, because it's been an excuse most people use all the time. Oh, he said it's a gift, so it's a culture of giving. So we cannot. It's difficult to tell the line between gifts and corruption or bribery. But just before we jump on, I would want to say this once again. Inventions and creativity is not done by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. So let us educate ourselves and let's create and invent. With that being said, I also want to say this, that when we talk about corruption, when we talk about bribery, it is not only happening in Africa. Africa is not the only place where all these things take place. It takes place all over. It's a human habit, so to speak. But as we're saying, some places have been able to set up institutions and set up systems that controls and are able to hold people accountable and responsible for their actions. And that's exactly what we are trying to, excuse me, subscribe to our continent, our beautiful continent, that we should also set up systems and put mechanisms in place to be able to take care of some of these issues. So when we talk about some of these ills on the continent of Africa, we're not saying that's the only place on earth where some of these things happen. It happens all over the world. Where you find human beings, you find corruption. All righty, I would let Mr. Ua recap what the dose of what he gave us the other week, and then we would zoom in from there. While he's doing that, I am also posting the link on Facebook. So those of you who are on Facebook and want to join the conversation, you can also join from there. All righty, Prof, over to you.
Okay. Like we were saying 2 weeks ago, every culture everywhere in this world actually looks very, very positively on giving a gift. everywhere you go, people give gifts. So when we talk about corruption, the little research that I did was whenever anybody uses a position, or they abuse power for their private gain, that is when the word corruption comes in. Literally, if you are in a position of authority or of power, and then in order to do your job, in order to do what is necessary for the smooth running of the society, you take something that should not be yours before you do your job, that is corruption. That's basically what it is. And we've been having this problem, especially in Africa, where funds that are meant for a project of a group of people literally go missing continuously in our history, or in order to have the most basic services given to you as a citizen, you have to pay an extra amount of money for that. And that amount of money do not go to the government coffers or the city coffers or the societal communal coffers, but it goes to an individual for that service to be provided for you. That is what we are talking about. That is the corruption that we are talking about today. But corruption encompasses a whole lot of other issues that we can digress into. But for today, we are going to talk mostly about people using their positions of power to enrich themselves, take what should belong to the society, or just deviate from the normal processes that should take place in order to please an individual or an organization for private gain. That's the kind of corruption we want to talk about. And the excuse that is given that it is the giving of gifts that is cultural to us Africans that has allowed corruption to become a canker in our society is the one that we first need to abuse people's minds of. And like I said at the beginning, the first thing that people need to understand is that the giving of gifts is universal, and it has a very positive connotation. There is nowhere in this world that when you willingly give somebody a gift, even for doing something good or just for appreciating the work that they have done, no society looks down upon that. But when you come to the word corruption, it is universally frowned upon. It is a bad thing, and we should never conflate our cultural propensity for giving gifts as the root cause of corruption. Why do I say that? The number one reason is because giving of gifts is universal, it's cultural everywhere. It doesn't mean that you are being corrupted. That is number one. Number two, if you go into the African lexicon, into our own indigenous languages, a word for corruption does not exist. Think about that. I'm going to repeat that. When you go into our native languages, with very, very, very few exceptions, the word for corruption does not exist. What does this mean? It means that there was no need to coin such a word because it wasn't necessary. It means that this issue of rampant corruption that have bedeviled Africa in our quest for development, in our quest for societal cohesion, didn't exist back in the day. If it did exist, we would have words for it in all our major languages. We don't. The major exception that I got was from the Sothia language, and the word was sebolu. The word for corruption was sebolu, and it means a spoiled thing. A spoiled thing is not positive. It has a negative connotation. And if you are somebody who is corrupt, they call you Bobulu. And it has a very negative connotation. Okay. Very negative connotation. And such people were looked down upon. The word comes with a very high degree of disdain, not just disrespect, but a very high level of disdain. This means that the language itself refuses to even accept the existence of corruption. The language itself, you can go into Nigeria, you can go into Kenya, you can go into South Africa, Ghana, the Ivory Coast. We don't have a native word for corruption. Let me talk about my own people, the Akan people. This word that has become very used now, called ketasishe, is just a phrase that was coined quite recently in our lexicon to describe the act of just doing something that is supposedly illegal and under the carpet, kete asishe, under the bed or under the mat. So we really don't have a word for corruption because corruption didn't exist. But giving of gifts have existed since the inception of humanity. So you cannot put the two together as one being the cause of the other. Corruption is totally different from the act of giving. And like I said, the previous 2 weeks or so, I have a friend in Virginia who said that the real difference between corruption and a gift, or what we call a tip, is what is the intent? What is the intent of whatever you gave to the individual? Is it as an appreciation for a job well done, or is it to influence the individual to thwart or change, lay down procedures and processes in order to sort of give you an advantage in a place that you should not be given an advantage? And that's what we should think about it. A gift normally comes as an appreciation for what somebody has already done without expecting that gift, because most often than not, these people are in positions that are paid. It is their job. But if you go in there and you dash him some money or do him a favor in order to influence the processes, then it becomes an issue of corruption. I think you are ready. So
now I just want to get your opinion on this. So if you have to do a job, or if there is a business that needs to be taken care of, and I'm interested in being given that, let's say I have a company and I'm interested in being offered that particular contract. And after we talk, I say, this is a gift for you. We've not even started working. We're just talking about the basics. How can I get the contract? Or I've been introduced to you for me to be able to let you know that I'm capable of handling the contract. And then after the discussion, I tell you, oh, this is a gift. What do you make of it?
There is no ifs, there are no buts. That is corruption. If you accept a gift beforehand, before even a decision to award a contract, which is supposed to be bidded for, you accept a gift from any and all participants in that bidding process, you've been corrupted. It doesn't matter.
I'm asking this question because I saw a couple of videos where people are referring to, I want to be specific to some of the Yanaz's videos, and say, he said it's a gift. So why are people crying foul about him saying it's a gift?
What was the gift intended for? Me and you are sitting here today and we know that, let's say I want a contract for a road. there are 100 bidders for that particular road. You have a role to play in giving that road to a contractor, and I come to you and I give you 100 million cedis and say it is a gift. Come on now. We are not, nobody is a child here. I intend for you to favorably look on me in that process, not because I am the most competent to execute the process, but because I am sort of your benefactor. Okay, that's why we've been talking about corruption being universal. It's not just an African problem. Even in the United States Congress, they call something called, they have something called, the term just escaped me, lobbying.
Okay.
Okay. I consider that complete corruption, because if I can have an organization come to me, put money into my campaign, and then bring right legislation that are favorable to me and present it to you as a senator or as a congressman, and I am paying into your fund for election, that's corruption. To me, there are no ifs or buts. So anytime somebody who has a vested interest in any cause comes to you and say, this is a gift, if you are a public official, you should have been trained to look at that as negative. It should be an insult to you. That is the basic definition of corruption, because you gave me the gift with the intent that that gift should influence me to look positively at your proposal, not based on how best you are able to do the job. That's why in certain societies, there is a clear delineation of what can be considered a gift. And it is in Ghana too. I know it is in Nigeria. I know it's in South Africa. It's in Egypt. It's in Kenya. It's in almost every country. If you give a gift above a certain amount of money, or even a vacation or whatever, it should not be accepted. It's clear. Our issue is not really the issue of somebody giving you a gift. Have you ever heard, like me and you, have you ever heard that if a friend comes to your house, you provide food and sustenance, or you let him sleep in your house for a weekend, he's on a visit? Have you ever heard any societal complaints about doing that? So
Nope.
why is it that when a leader in a position of authority is given a certain amount of money, and then it is later found out, they come out and say that is corruption? I believe you gave an example about one of the Eastern countries, I think, was it Japan?
Yeah.
That if you wanted to give a gift to anybody who is a public figure, it should be done in public.
Yep.
Why do you think they do that? You see? So the basic idea of corruption, or a gift, or our cultural practice of giving gifts to leaders is a basis for corruption. I don't agree with that. I don't
So
think
then
that
it's an issue. I would want to pick on the you said something about the fact that it's an insult to the dignity of that person. So in that case, it means we're talking about somebody who has some dignity to uphold.
exactly.
So basically, some of our political managers who don't have any dignity to uphold will fall for some of these gifts in quotes.
Yeah. There is this often quoted maxim: everybody has a price. They say it as if it should be accepted as a universal thing. Some people don't have price. They don't. They simply don't, you cannot buy them. And we need to start instilling into our generations that whenever somebody tries to put a price on your dignity, you should, as an individual, accept the fact that the person disrespects you. You should accept that first and foremost. And then it will be in your power to decide whether you will allow that person to disrespect you or not. That's why in certain societies, when the police stops you and asks for your ID and your insurance, you respectfully give the ID and the insurance. You don't start talking about, oh, Mr. Officer, how much can I give you? Because that officer is going to interpret it as being disrespectful. And then there are societies in which the moment the police stops you and you are giving them your driver's license, you put something inside. And they accept it and wave you on. It means they are easily bought. So don't let anybody bring in the issue of gifts. If I go to my chief bearing gifts, I may not even need anything from the chief. It's just traditionally acceptable that when I'm going in there, I should go and give him a gift. And those gifts are not that expensive. That's why there are clear rules regarding, you see, let's say you have no dignity to uphold. What about the dignity of the office that you hold? You should be able to delineate the individual from the office. Presumably, in your capacity as an individual citizen of the nation, anybody bringing you any gift or even a bribe, you have no dignity. You can accept it. But how about the office to which you have been posted? The office is not yours permanently. The office should come with some dignity attached to it. Please uphold that. Because anytime anybody brings you a bribe, you should understand that the person says that this is your price. I'm buying you. I'm buying your intentions. I'm buying your dignity, and I can trample on it.
And I'm even buying your office as well.
Exactly.
So as you were just talking, it gave me an idea or an understanding that these people don't even value their dignity, and they don't value the office they hold as well. So somebody is putting a price on not just your dignity, but even the office you hold. And if some of these people have these understandings, so these are the values that now we have to instill in the youth and our kids to understand.
You remember that as an organization, Afriweek has been talking about the principles of life. Okay. This falls, as far as I'm concerned, under the principle of service. Because for you to be a leader, you should have a gift that you serve to your community. And that gives you the power of the office.
Right.
And that's why we put you in a certain position. We shouldn't, I know the process might not be as flawless as we describe it in theory, but before we put you somewhere, you should have a gift that you are going to serve to your community. That is the basic thing about Afriweek, our understanding of the principles of leadership. Now, anybody who has a gift and has the authority to execute the gift has a certain level of reputation and expectation attached to that gift. So please, if you don't even respect yourself as an individual, before we put you in a certain position, or we don't even have to put you, before society decided that you are the best mechanic, you are the best mechanic in Old Tafu, let's say. So when I bring you my vehicle that needs servicing, and you bungle it because somebody else brought you a gift to just avoid doing the job that I've paid you for, so you can go do his somewhere and waste my time and my resources, your reputation is the one that is going to suffer. And the authority that we have given to you as the best mechanic in the area will start getting tainted. I hope I am making some sense.
You're making some deep, serious sense.
This is the reason why our cultural society puts a lot of emphasis and a lot of dignity in positions. Remember, I've said that there is no word for corruption in our native languages, except some very few exceptions. And I gave you one from the what do we call it? The Soti language from Somalia. Okay, and then there is this one from Kiswahili, and Swahili is an amalgamated language.
Right.
Portuguese and the other Europeans together with the East Africans needed a common language to communicate. So the word for corruption that is basically from Swahili is ufisadi. And ufisadi is the corrupt one. And remember, Swahili is an amalgamated language. But even that, look at how they formed the word. It is from the reputation of the hyena as an animal that will not go hunting. But once you have made a kill, it will use its fierceness to come, put together a show, and steal your kill from you. Okay? That is the basic building block of the word ufisadi, which means the corrupt one. You are a vulture. Okay? You don't do the job. You prey upon other people's intelligence. But the same cultural thing says that when somebody goes out there and becomes successful and comes back and give to his family, to his community, it has a very positive connotation. Why is it that when we say that you are a corrupt one, it has a negative connotation? But when we say that you are a giver, you are somebody who is generous to your own society, why does it have a positive connotation? That should tell you enough that the act of giving a gift and the act of being corrupt, they are not the same. Neither do they come from the same source. So the first thing we need to teach our generations is that corruption is bad. We didn't even have a word for it. And that before the inception of colonization, most of our societies ran seamlessly because each and every member understood their job. Communal theft is something that was very, the idea that you can take something that belongs to the community for yourself didn't exist, not even for the king. And if you remember, I was talking about some of the cultural issues concerning different societies. Okay, in Nigeria, one of the tribes, if the king does something like very negative, as let's say he doesn't allow the process for adjudication of a case and he prefers a certain candidate to somebody not using the truth or due process, and justice is denied to somebody, the kingmakers will sit down and then come and present you with an empty calabash or eagle's eggs, which is a sign that you should commit suicide because you have denigrated your position. And I come back to this issue of the Igbos. Yeah. I come back to this issue of you disrespecting the dignity of office. The Igbos, like the Akans, do not remove the top king, the king of the kingdom. They cannot dethrone you. You will have to actually kill yourself for doing something that is not in line with communal principles. Okay? You commit suicide, they will clearly tell you it's your time to die. So how do you come back and you tell me that it's because our society loves to give that we are corrupt? Was never true back in the day. We don't have a words for them in our local languages, which means they didn't exist. Look, as an Akan man, we call a bucket bokiti. Okay? It is just a bad pronunciation of the English word bucket. It means we didn't have it. It wasn't there. I'm just giving you the background.
Right.
When you look at the word cocoa, look at how we spell it in Twi and how we spell it in English. It means that it is not a native of our side of the continent. We don't have a word for it. That's why we pronounce it exactly the same way as the people who brought it to us. And I can continue to give you examples. Okay, for everything that originally was present in our community, we have words for them.
Right.
So corruption didn't exist. There was no need for it. And because we coined our languages in spiritual terms, people actually adhered because nobody wanted the blowback from taking communal property and ascribing it to themselves. And when we talk about corruption, like the official corruption in official practice or in the running of the government that we are talking about today, it is you taking what should belong to the society for your individual self simply because you are in a position to do so. That's stealing. Let's call it what it is. It's not a gift. So if I come to you bearing gifts to influence what you are going to do, please understand that I've already put a price on your head and I do disrespect you.
Man, I do disrespect you. So here we're talking about values. I believe that in order for us to be able to curb this canker or try to heal this canker, we have to approach it from two different perspectives. One, by punishing the act, by not making it pleasant, by not making it look beautiful for people to engage in. Because now it looks like the politics in Africa is now a business where people decide that they are going in to make money. You know, so in order for us to be able to tackle this canker or this cancer, we should be able to punish the act. And number two, or simultaneously, as we are punishing the act, we should be able to re-educate and re-emphasize on the principles and the values of our dignity as humans. As you said, when somebody gives you money or somebody bribes you, it means the person has put a price on you. The person is telling you this is how much you're worth. You know, and some people, as you said, have even bought into that idea that everybody has a price. And I'm glad you stated some people don't have prices. No matter what you do to them, you cannot buy them. Their principles are paramount. I remember a story once told us when we were growing up about one of the our uncles who happens to be a sub-chief, and an issue was brought before him, and before the sitting for the sitting of the day for the adjudication, one party went behind in the dark to go see him, and they took a whole bunch of stuff, as gifts. And I was told these were his words to the people. Then I'm going to speak. Say, me Kwame Kuma Mitihei. Sadia yo koko na waka chira mi se sikenti menka si ye tuntumua. And ye ube chaya che. Fi se enya di ebe baso. Inti se mudi musika ne ba beka chira mi se wachina. Sadia ni ye koko menka si ye tuntum dia. And ye mumfa musika nko. And this is somebody who, from what I heard, has no price. He had no price. So when people sit to make statements like everybody has a price, even politicians making those statements, it's kind of sad. So as you said, looking at it, being able to fight this cancer, we should be able to punish the act. It doesn't have to be a lucrative act in our society. Some places the punishment is harsh. I don't subscribe to death penalty. I don't believe in that. But some places, yes, they do give death penalty. People die for corruption. Sometimes, logically, if you think about the harm the people have caused, you might emotionally say they deserve to die. But like I said, I don't believe in that. So, but there should be some form of punishment. People would have to pay the consequences of their actions. And if we don't do that, it becomes lucrative for people to indulge in. And I believe that is what is going on now. We are not punishing the act, and we're making it lucrative, and people are indulging in that act. And society hails them because they will tell you these are, yesterday I heard a new word. He said, they drive G wagons. If you're not driving a G wagon, then you're nobody in the society, so you don't have to be respected. And so we need to instill values into the youth, the values of the human dignity. Make them understand that your dignity has no price. The only price your dignity has is honesty and truth. These are the only price your dignity should have. And the moment you lose these, then anybody, and the fact that you said it well, that it's an insult. It's an insult. And I believe that we will begin to see it that way. When the cop stops you, and I have seen cops taken as low as one city. And people are excited to partake in the act because they think it's the norm. So the giver has no dignity to protect, and the receiver has no dignity to protect. See, if we have dignity to protect, then we know that we cannot get behind the driving wheels without a driver's license. If we have dignity to protect, we know that if we are pulled over, we would have to face the consequences of our actions. So we need to understand that this, as Prof said, had no place in our society as Africans. And maybe the next discussion we're going to do, we'll talk about how corruption became rampant in our society. And it will shock some of us to know that it was introduced into our society by the colonial masters. You know, so corruption had no place in the African cultural setting, as Prof has given us countless and numerous examples of some of the African cultural settings where people will frown on corrupt people and would actually punish or would not even respect them in the society. And that alone does not make the act pleasant for people to engage in. It does not make the act lucrative for people to engage in. So no matter how rich you are in the society, the moment you show up, people begin to leave because your presence is not appealing to the people. You know, so let's begin to imbibe or begin to cultivate principles and values that would elevate our dignity above any other thing, above material things, so that anytime we have the opportunity to serve, we would be able to serve and serve well, to the point that even in our absence, people will still be talking about our service and our contribution to make the world a better place. I don't know, I think we've exhausted most of the time. So Prof, if you can make your final submissions before we bring the curtains down today.
The people in Botswana who actually do have a word for corruption, and in Lesotho and some other African communities, if you are seen as somebody who is very corrupt, they are not going to give you a seat at the church or in the mosque or whatever that prominent people are meant to be seated. You are disrespected, to tell you the truth. And where I come from, it doesn't matter the means through which you got rich, money is worshipped. If we can actually go back to where we were when a man's dignity was the most important thing to him. Look, the Igbos were an acephalous society without a clear head. You had to earn your way into the leadership of the clan. They were called titled men. If you've read any of Chinua Achebe's books, you should understand this. You have to work and you have to attain status. And they had a saying that I said the other day: titled men don't lie. Okay. So before you become a titled man, you should have gone through certain processes and you'll be seated with the titled men. And whenever a case came before the titled men, the society as a whole respected the verdict because it was known that titled men don't lie. So to go back to what you were saying, as a society, we should teach the values and we should allow consequences to rule, because consequence is not a coincidence. And the fact that we don't even have a clear understanding of what corruption is and what it does to our society is because we have made it some anomalous concept and we have come to accept it. Imagine if our churches, our local organizations, our mosques, our trade unions have this disdainful attitude towards corruption. What do you think will happen? People will move away from it. People will actually move away from it. So when people come out to try to explain their behavior by calling it a gift, the first thing is that we should call them on it. We know what a gift is and we know what a bribe is. We should call them on it. And when there is already rules in place, let's make sure that those rules are enforced. Okay? And we should not be respectful of persons. I don't really like bringing in individuals, but there was a president that was given a vehicle by a contractor. And in their own rules of engagement, it stated clearly that if a gift is above, let's say $100, you cannot accept it. But they accepted it and they blew it away as if it was nothing. And if the leadership of any society shows this sort of disregard for their own rules, what do you expect those of us who are considered underlings to do? We will go likewise. So the first concept, teach the basics to the people, enforce the rules, and punish those that are found wanting. If we really want to bring, an end to this hydra-headed monster that we all seem to detest, but then we have come to accept. Thank you.
Teach the basics. Teach the basics. Thank you, Prof. We want to thank you for investing your time into Leadership Academy today. We'll continue this topic next week. We'll look at various aspects of corruption. We'll look at the effects of corruption on our economy as a continent. So please make sure you invite a friend to be a part of the discussion, and we want to hear your voice. We want to hear your opinion. So anytime we put up the link, you can click on the link and be a part of the discussion. Even if you have a question or you have a dissenting opinion, as I always say on this platform, we don't shy away from it. Table it respectfully and we will discuss it and learn. We all learn from it. Once again, thank you so much. My name, Nana Osei Bonsu Jr., and my co-host, Professor Kojo Ewa Frimpong. We'll see you again next week, same time. Bye-bye.
Bye.